Oh, a topic that's near and dear to my heart is how to regroup after a failed performance, which is a very difficult thing for some people to regroup because I think about my young days as a choir director. And before I go there, like and share the video, please, so we can get the word out. Those of you on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for all of your notes and all of your comments and your inboxes on things that you would like for me to discuss. That actually makes it much, much easier for me. I don't have to work so hard to develop information, to get information to distribute to you. But tonight we're going to talk about regrouping after a failed performance. And that's something that I know most of us as directors do not look for at all. We tend to think if we rehearse and we plan and we do all of the right things, everything is going to come out, and absolutely not. It's not going to be perfect all the time. There will be times where your performance will be so bad that you won't want to, it almost make you stop directing. It's that bad. Shout out to my mom, Beatrice, Lady Geraldine Smith, and Ned. Hey, Don and Shanita. It's very difficult, and sometimes I watch younger directors, and they get so caught up in doing so many different things, and it doesn't go the way that they want, and they get crushed. And it's so, you know what? Honestly, I have to be truthful. Even myself, I practice and I rehearse. And I do so many different things. It even bothers me to a degree when the choir does not perform the way that I think they should. You know, especially when I've given you the material, I've practiced with you, I keep reminding you, I link stuff to you. And then when the day of performance comes, I see all of this look like deer in the headlights. Like people looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the song goes south. And our normal reaction, hey, Professor Tim, our normal reaction when the choir fails, or if the song doesn't come out, the musicians miss the cue, the choir is out of tune or whatever, our normal response is to get upset. Because like I said, you've done all this work and everything doesn't work out. And you know, I always tell people you have to kind of put that in your, you have to kind of have that in the back of your mind, that even though I did all of this labor and we're ready to go, something may go wrong. Okay? It just may go wrong. And you have to be, you really have to be psychologically prepared for that. That's a possibility that this whole thing is just going to go crashing down. And as a leader, you can't be the one flying all off the handle. Hey, Mom. That's my mom. That's my mom. Probably my niece with her, too. You can't go flying off the handle because something went south. You can't do that. And I remember one time that happened to me is it was when the choir, I took over and the choir had just got started and we were singing a cappella. And we had one person in there that did not come to choir rehearsal. You know, you just had all kinds of things going on. And honestly, that is right, Dimitri. You learn to laugh. You know, but I didn't know that, and I think I was about 25, 26 at the time, and I was very intense because I was just getting out into the industry and being known as an a cappella choir directress. And we went there, and boy, did we flops. A couple of the choir members, I don't know what was going on. There was something going on within the choir, and we flopped. I mean, one of the singers purposely was singing out of tune. I mean, it was just bad. It was so bad that if I was Rumpelstiltskin, hey, Stephanie, that's my cousin from STL. If I was Rumpelstiltskin, I would have stumped my way through the floor out the church. That's just how bad it was. And the mistake that I made, I was so angry and upset because I was embarrassed. You know, I took everything very, very personal. And that's something that we have to learn how to transition. You can't take everything personal when you're dealing with a multiplicity of people. And I made a mistake and I snapped at one of the choir members that was part of the reason why we messed up. And that just set off a firestorm. My mom remembered this. She had to take me, the choir member, out of the church because it was just like, I was so upset. And, it was just issues, and what I didn't know at that time is a lot of directors don't know that you can have choir members in the choir that are jealous, they resent you or whatever, but they like being in the choir because of the attention that you get when you're in there. And I can tell you that was the last time I did that. And I learned my lesson from that point. And I try to instruct young directors, you have to remove your emotions from the equation, because that's 90% of the reason why you're going to get out of character, because you're emotionally tied to this. You learn how to move flesh out of the way so that the spirit can have full control, but don't get so emotionally attached that you react to every single thing. One of the things I learned when the choir has when the performance doesn't go so well is the worst. Don't talk to the choir, and understand what I'm saying. And when I say don't talk to them, I mean don't correct them. Don't go after them. Say, what in the, some people, what in the world just happened? That's the worst thing you can do. Never talk to the choir when you upset. The best thing you can do is go, hey, how y'all doing? Hey, and because most of the time, let's flip the script and get on the other side. I know we're the director, but let's get on the other side. 90% of the time, the choir members are going to feel bad because they feel that I let you down. You rehearsed with me, you did this, and that, and then I got up and I forgot the song, or and they feel bad. They do. Most of them will feel some kind of remorse for messing up the song because they know how precious it is to you. So what you want to do, hey, Zori, what you want to do is just, hey, laugh it off. Hey, you might be mad because, but you just smile and be like, hey, because they're going to come, I'm so sorry. Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, because they do me like that all the time. Oh, Sister Angie, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. And I just stand there like, you know what? Hey. But when I get home, I'm mad. I'm like, I'm just like, don't talk to the choir when you're upset and they just bombed. Don't do it. He said, I'm so glad I can actually catch you live this time. Honestly, don't do it. Don't say anything. Just debrief yourself. Go somewhere and relax. If you got a friend, you might vent to the friend or your companion or whoever, but don't talk to the choir because all you're going to do is set off a chain of fire. Now, when I did that, and I can tell it, I'm not ashamed of it because we all make mistakes. And if somebody can learn from my error, then it's all better. After that, it put a rift in the choir. My mother, who was the president at that time, she had to try to meld it all back together. She had to have a sit-down meeting with all the choir members and myself, and she had to let everybody say what you had to say, but you had to respect one another. Hey, Aaron, right, go and calm down. We had to respect one another, but because I got out of order, and, if they had got out of order and I stayed calm, then it would have all looked on them. But by me being the leader and I'm like going all over the place, it gave them an escape. It kind of, everything fell on me. Like, you should know better not to do that. You should do that. But I let my emotions get too entangled in it. So never talk to them when you're upset. Go calm down, read a scripture, get on the treadmill, go sit down, have a Coke and a smile, something. Okay, go do something else. Don't talk to them when that happens. Number 2, another thing I did, exactly, Aaron, it'll be a chain reaction. Another thing I did was after, not talking to them, but I had to step back. A lot of times you have to do that. I do that now. Even if it's Sunday morning, it's not that serious. We sing a song and they miss the cues and whatever else. I always take a step back, step out of the situation and look at it and see what, not to beat myself up, because every time it's not your fault. It just some days it just doesn't click. There's nothing wrong. He said I needed this for rehearsal last week. It doesn't mean anything wrong. We gotta, as Demetria made the comment up there, you gotta take a step back and just laugh it off. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with them. But it's just that some reason the wires, everything is just crisscross. People are under stress because when you're one of those directors like myself that strives for excellence, because number one, I know this. I push them to give it 100% to do their best at all times. I push for that. Number one, I know that if they're singing a song that they're learning and that they're not totally comfortable with, when you're singing, this is anybody, when you're singing a song and you're nervous about it, you're unsure about it, you lose 10% of your performance power. And that's somebody who really knows how to sing. And if that person really is not confident in the song and they're nervous, they're going to lose at least 10% of the performance anyway. So you're working with 90%, and it depends on if they're one of your top singers or if they're one of the lower singers. You may lose a lower percentage, maybe 30%. So you got a whole lot of stuff going on. So you need to step outside of the situation and think about it, and look at what went wrong. What did I give the cue right? It's just so many variables. And I actually probably need to do a part 2 to really dissect things and show you how I look at things. And so then the next time when that rolls around, I'm a lot calmer. I can identify things. Because a lot of times we get upset because we don't expect things to go wrong. And that's not the way. Whenever you dealing with a multiplicity of people, and that is out there, and she is a psychologist, she can tell you when you're dealing with multiple personalities in one of those personalities in each person, okay? But you're dealing with a multiplicity of people. You have to expect that something is gonna, kind of be off a little bit, or whatever. You have to anticipate that. And, you step back and you review those things. Then also, for me, I solicit the opinions of somebody who's outside, who does not have a vested interest in the choir. A lot of times if you talk to people who are in the choir and they're attached to the choir, they really can't give you a good assessment of what's going on because they're wrapped up in it like you. They probably saw the same thing. So it's better to go and get somebody, a senior person who has the Spirit of God in there, who is spiritual. Get them. They may have been sitting in the audience because, people who are outside the picture that don't have a vested interest, they can see things that we can't see, So you want to get them to look, and they can give you an insight into what they saw, and then it may be something that you can correct. I'm one of those people, anybody that's seen me direct the choir, they all know I have facial expressions. Sometimes if the choir, sometimes when the choir doesn't sing the way I want them to, I'll just stop and just kind of look, and do something silly. And then I go right back to direct. That's my way. Develop your own way of dealing with the stress. Because, it can stress you out if you allow it. But always, and that was a sidebar, sorry about that. But always get an opinion of somebody who's not connected to it. Because like I said, they can see some things that you're not really paying attention to. Because basically your mind is focused on the parts, the arranging people so that the vocals sound properly. You don't want to have too many strong people on this side in the front row and the back row. You kind of want to mix them up. Your mind is on the musicians, making sure that they following the cues, they're in the right key. And if you it's so much going on when you stand there, and then you're trying to watch the audience and you're trying to stay in the flow of the Spirit. It's a lot. Oh, my mom says we should always pray and acknowledge the Lord before you do anything. Exactly, Mom. Don says I have faces as well. I do. I do. I know I do. And I tell people I need deliverance in the faces, but that's just my way of dealing with it, and and then you have to pray, as my mom said, you have to pray and acknowledge God. And then you have to just pray and kind of turn within yourself. Take a break. I told you all that. And I think last year I went through a series and I was telling everybody, you don't have to have choir rehearsal back to back to back all the time. there are times you just need to give the choir a break. I mean, if you've had like 2 or 3 months of rehearsal and you've been singing all kinds of songs, 2 weeks should not make the choir lose its tenacity just because you missed 2 weeks. Hey, Vansha, just because you mixed 2 weeks, give the choir a break. And sometimes that's another reason why we can get excited and maybe fly off the handle a little bit, because we're tired. You keep driving, and you're not resting. And sometimes, like now with my choir, I rehearse with them. Maybe I have trained them. We'll take the training part out of the equation, but I give them rest periods all the time, not just for them, but for me. Because as a leader, you need to regroup, you need to rest, you need to think, you need to, strategize on things that you can do to help enhance what's going on. Also, after you calm down, exactly, Deatrice, a break can be refreshing. And a lot of people don't think about that, but being in a choir and working with a choir is just like being in an organization, like going to your job. You need a break, hence vacation time. If not, you're going to end up using what? PTO, because you're sick. Whether it's a mental health day, you just need a break, or you actually physically sick. Same thing with the choir. It's just like an organization. You need to take rest. The choir needs a break, and you need one as well. After you calm down and able to regroup and get refreshed, then talk to your leadership team in the choir, your directors, your MD, your section leaders. Then you talk to them, sit down and talk to them and kind of figure out, okay, you know what? Yeah, you can be funny about it. It's like, I was coming. I want to know what happened. Why? How did this slip in? Where did we fall? Get everybody's opinion on what happened. Okay? And after you talk to the leadership team of your choir, then you talk to the musicians. Have your own power. A lot of people don't realize that, but you need to talk to the musicians by themselves. Having all of them together is, it all depends. But you should talk to them separately by themselves and get an understanding with them, because they're separate. The musicians are the backbone, and they're a separate entity they work together, but they're a separate group from the choir. Singers and musicians are two different avenues. They see things 2 different ways, and you need to be in the middle and know how to navigate between the two. Vansha, what did you say? I tell our folks, I love God's children, but some of y'all get on my nerves and I need a break from you. Vansha, please. Hey, Hatcher, he made it this week. Vansha, come on now. Don't let me reach down there with the long hand of the Kojic arm, okay, down there to get you. But yeah, you have to talk to them, and then finally you need to talk to the choir. Every now and then you need to just have an open forum with your choir where they're able to express things that are going on, and sometimes it's things going on with them, it may be things going on in the house. I mean, there's so many different variables when people, everybody. One thing I've learned is that everyone doesn't have the ability to just shut things off. Like when I come into church, and granted, I'm a veteran of the church, and being a PK and a choir director, there are a lot of things that I learned how to deal with, and I could just shut stuff off. If I walk in, and even like I could come in there and I could just have a bad day from work, and I could just when I walk into church, I just shut that down. I'm like, compartmentalize, you over there, and I deal with what I'm dealing with. And I had to learn that everybody else may not have that ability. I had some military training in my life. So, we learn how to compartmentalize all the time. You got to do what you got to do, So I had to realize that everybody doesn't have that ability to just shut down and do the job and then come back. Everybody is not spiritually on the same level. Everybody doesn't have the same training in their natural life as maybe I have. So you have to take that into consideration. Everybody sees things differently. Everybody has a different grid or a different understanding. Case in point, musicians. There are only so many chords that you can play on a piano. There are only certain many notes. If you're looking at it diatonically, it's 7. If you're looking at it chromatically, you got about 12 going on there. But 12 or more. 12. But in any case, each of us that are musicians the music sounds totally different. So I mean, everybody, you can't approach the choir as we're all robots and automatons. And I think we do that. We kind of think everybody is like, that song said, if everybody was like Jesus, what a wonderful world it would be. And sometimes we get in that syndrome. We think that everybody in the choir is like me. Yeah, everybody may want to be in the choir and they love being in the choir, but understand, you being the leader, there's a greater ounce of gift that are in you. That's in you that may not be in everybody else. So you have to take that in consideration as well. But again, talk to your leadership team in the choir. Talk to yourself first and God. But then talk to your leadership team. Talk to your musicians. And then talk to your choir. Have it where they can respectfully speak their minds and let you know what's on their heart. Because some of them may be struggling. I mean, I have that. I haven't had to have that in a while, but we used to have it a whole lot when I was much younger because I had a lot to learn. It's a learning process. There's no way to learn everything at once. I mean, even now, and I'm a veteran, I can consider myself a veteran directress now. I still make mistakes. The choir still makes mistakes. We just have to know how to deal with them. Vansha says, your church game face, fellow PK, so I feel you there. Everyone is different, so we have to keep it in mind. We really do. Everybody cannot work well under pressure. And, they view things, sometimes, unbeknownst to them, they may view you as like, you think you're an authoritarian, blah, blah, blah. All kinds of things are going on in people's minds. In church and out of church, but we're talking about the choir. It's all, honestly, I'm like, sometimes I think that they didn't give me enough electives in college. I think I had like one psychology course. I probably should have had about 2 or 3 because some things you're sitting there going, I don't understand. But as you grow in leadership and you learn the people that you work with, then you'll be able to assess the situation. And these are what I'm about to talk about now. On the other side are things you should think about that can kind of prevent you from having a failed performance. Let me see if I can get Zori's question. How do you deal with the pressure of high expectations for special events and services, but not always enough rehearsal time to adequately prepare? Basically, I just take it in strides. Number one, with my choir. Hatcher, stop it. I've been without understanding in church before. Stop it, Hatcher. Back to Zori's question. Basically, it's your mindset you have to have. You know that you've done your job. And that's one thing. My mom was a choir director, and she used to tell me all the time, because the choir it never would come out the way I want. And she would tell me, you do your job. You practice, you rehearse. I would give them the material early, and then I would rehearse with them and talk to them and do whatever. And because you know what, honestly, it will never seem like you have enough rehearsal time. I don't care. You can rehearse 3 months in a row. Boom, 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 boom. It's never going to feel like you had enough time to rehearse. It's just not. Because even if I rehearse with my choir 8 weeks in a row preparing for the pastor's anniversary, that last rehearsal, for some reason, poof, everything just goes wow. So you just anticipate that there is going to be some glitches. And you don't allow yourself to get under pressure. You just know I'm dealing with people and everybody's not on the same level, and we're going to do the best that we can. I've done my job. And Professor Tim said you should always have something on reserve. Exactly. That's a very good point. No, always have backup songs. Know your choir well enough that you don't, when I have a concert, I make sure that I don't have too many new songs that everybody has never heard. I may throw a couple there, but then the rest of the songs, I make sure it's something that they're comfortable with. You understand what I'm saying? I don't, and that, with me doing that, that relieves the pressure of me being like, oh my God, what, oh my God, sweating and all that relieves the pressure because I know, and I tell them, I say, okay, we're practicing on these two, and I got 3 4 as a backup. I may call on this one just in case. You know, when they start singing the first songs, if I'm not getting the volume and what I'm anticipating, knowing that I should hear and see with the amount of rehearsal I had, I automatically pull out an old song. I'm like, you know what, let's just stop. because I'm going to get aggravated because I'm listening and I'm not liking what I'm listening, so then I stop it. But my question would be, whose expectation? Yours, the congregation, or the pastor or God? I would think in that case, I would think it would be your own expectations. Because a lot of times, now let's just keep this thing real, and I got quite a few tenured directors on here. Most of the time, when you're with the choir and they're performing, you hear one thing, but the pastor and everybody else hears something else. You may say, man, that was, what in the world? They were so out of tune. And if you let the people tell, they be like, ooh, that choir sounds so good. Everybody be like, ooh, they really did good. And you're sitting there going, oh, okay, well, praise God. You know, people always say, I enjoyed them. They was really singing. So I think it's really, we put a higher expectation on ourselves. I think we do it to ourselves because most of the time, I find that when I direct, most people are not even, I don't care what I do. They sit there and be like, girl, I enjoyed you. What? I'm like, what? You enjoy what? I'm sitting there looking crazy and sweating and crossing my eyes and all this kind of stuff and you know, and it's like, and the people are like laughing, they're enjoying me. They're like, girl, I just enjoy you. I can't, and some of the choir members tell me, girl, I can't hardly sing for laughing at you. And I'm saying to myself, like, you know, I got all of this like up here on me, and I'm saying I did my best, and everybody else like, girl, what you talking about? So I think we put an expectation on ourselves that kind of keeps us heightened, which also can open the door to us lashing out at the choir members. So it kind of starts with us and what we think and how we feel. Vansha says, the best is all you can do at the end of the day. If God is pleased, then all is well and good. Exactly. Hatcher says, I'm not in the music ministry leadership anymore, but string relationship and communication with the pastor is key. Exactly. And like I said, sometimes, and it depends on your skill set. You know, one thing about it, as a choir director, you have to have confidence in yourself. You do. I'm not speaking of arrogance, but because people have an easier time following someone that has confidence in what they're doing. You know, that's how people get all off these tangents and running all over the place. But as a director, you need to have confidence in your own abilities because basically they're going to follow whatever you do. They are. And I always tell people, know your material, know that song backwards and forwards, that you can even sing it when you're delirious. You know that song. Thank you. See ya. Thank you, Lady of Wisdom. You need to know that song backwards and forwards. And this is the case in point. When you do, like sometimes some people are afraid to correct the song when the choir is performing. I'm not afraid at all. I will stop the song. I will grab the mic and I'll be like, sopranos, that's not it. Let's do this again. You know, I do it with a smile, but I'm like, no. You know, when I'm directing the song, and this is just me, and like I said, there's other directors out there, and you can put your comments there, and I will read them. When I'm directing the song, like case in point, we just had a workers meeting. Friday night was, my night that I did most of my directing. During the week, I really didn't do too much. I only directed one song. I gave everyone else an opportunity to direct. So Friday the first song we sang was The Lord is My Light, My Salvation. I gave that song to everybody. We had rehearsal, we practiced, bada boom, bada bing. We did what he had to do. When it came time to singing the song, there was a tremendous amount of hesitation, probably because I had more younger people in the choir. Now, the folks that are around my age or somewhere in that circle, they remember the song, so they can sing it. They don't, they like, oh, girl, you went back and got the 80s and the 90s, yay, the 70s or the 60s, whatever. But anyway, it was songs that we sang. So then the younger people, but I was getting that drawback from them. The harmony wasn't coming the way I wanted it to be. And so in my mind, I'm standing there and I'm directing and I'm telling them to come on and sing. But in my mind, I'm already thinking. And this is one thing where I find that a lot of younger directors, they don't think about that. They determined to get through this song and we're going to sing it the way this record said and you're going to do what I say. But a veteran director can stand there and listen to that song and know that it's not going to go where I want it to go. I need to make amends. And while we were singing it, I was, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this next song, I'm not going to even try it. I'm going to change it over to something else. So I already know I'm going to change it to something that they know. As I was listening to them singing the song and I'm telling them, I realized there were certain parts of the song that they gave the force to that had the harmony that I was looking for. So what did I do? I focused on that part of the song and we kept rewinding, going over that. And then, I can't remember if we modulated or not, but I had them to repeat that part. And when we got ready to take it out, to whom shall I fear to end, I noticed that everybody was nervous but the sopranos. So then I made everybody else be quiet and I focused on the sopranos and we ended the song like that. Now, to the audience, until now, I just said something. The audience thought like, man, she just took that song the wrong. The choir looking at me like, ooh, she didn't change it. No, because it's my job as the director to make sure that this department looks good in the sight of God and the people. But I also recognize where you're strong and where you're weak at. And I'm going to fix, it's my job to change it and fix it so that it won't create a disaster. Now, I could have just went on and said, y'all going to sing this song. It would have just messed it up. But I recognized where the song was good, and that's where I focused. And nobody else in the audience knew anything. They didn't know any different. They just figured, oh, okay, she just took it another way. That was nice. Praise God. And that's part of directing. You got to be cognizant of what's going on around you. You can take one part of a song. That's it. You take that one piece and you just work that piece. And Professor Tim, I enjoyed you directing on Sunday. You just sat down and just did your own thing. You just let them work and he's sitting down directing. That was smooth. I'm going to use that myself. But that's it. You just work it. So then when the next song came, we had another new song. And because they struggled with that and I could see the kind of the dismay on their faces. So I was like, you know what? Let me go back and get joy. Joy, 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 joy. I said, let me go get that song. Cause so I went, when it was time to sing, I went to the musician. I said, I'm doing Joy, Ricky Dillon. And they just looked at me like, really? I said, yeah, changing the song, y'all. Work with a sister. When I changed that song, it was a shift in the choir. And you know what? I didn't even really have to direct him. I had to stand there and look at him myself. I'm like, what? It was like a whole host of angels or somebody came down and stuff. The choir turned town totally different. And they were singing and they were happy. And I didn't really have to do anything. I was just like, okay, like doing I could clown, I was standing up there doing moves and whatnot, because they were sing, they were happy and they were singing because it was something for me. Now, like I said, that's part of directing. A lot of people don't realize that's part of it. It doesn't matter what you practice on. A lot of times when I have the Founders Day or I have the musicals or whatever, we never sing all of the songs that I practice on. And half the choir don't care because I go and pull something out that they know, they clown and cut up. Then I'm like, that's it, y'all. Take them off the program. They're done. We're done. It's I don't know. It's just so much to it. And I'm getting all hype and everything. And I'm sorry about that. Hatcher said, that's wisdom to change the direction of a song when it's not working. Exactly. Thank you, Stanley. He said, awesome session. Thank you, Timothy. Come on now. And Don says, yes, I must say most directors don't pay attention to the choir or have the ear to hear the parts and voices anymore. Exactly. Hey, Ella McGee. No, they don't. They're just focused on the calisthenics of it, and no. If that song is not working, stop it and move on to something else. That's strategy. That's leadership. And I constantly say that all the time to people, and you've heard me say that it's more to it than this. You really got to work and know how to communicate. You got to follow the spirit, know what's working, what's not working. And if it's not working, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. Just because we rehearse on all these songs and we don't sing them doesn't mean that we're a failure. A lot of times people just like to hear the choir sing. They're not really listening to all these different songs, because if you sing too many different songs that they never heard before, then the audience is kind of sitting there going, because when the choir, this is it, when the choir is singing a lot of songs, unless you're singing a bunch of old songs that they already know, but when you're introducing a lot of new songs, you're going to have a nervous choir. And like I said, when they're nervous, you're going to lose anywhere between 10 to 20% of performance. They're not going to give it all because there's too much to learn at one time. My strategy has always been, 2 of 3, either 2 new songs, 3 old songs. So it's not that much on their mind, especially when you're dealing with a church choir. Now, and that depends on the level of your church choir. Some, like if you like Corinthian Temple, you got a lot of people in there they're like professional singers. So you can throw 5 or 6 songs at them. That's not going to bother them. But a choir that's not that, where you pulling volunteers from the congregation, and they don't really have the experience of singing and competitions and all, that type of thing, you may have to kind of change your ratio a little bit to make it a little easier for them, because all choirs want to sing their best. They all want to be the greatest that they can be. But we as directors have to learn how to not only just sing what's popular, but sing something that they know. Make sure there's a comfort level with your choir. And when you do that, when I made those changes, you know what that did? That increased the confidence that the choir has in me, that she's concerned. You want them to know that you're concerned about their performance. They know that she's not just bent on doing this way and function in this area this way, and we got to do it this way. She's assessing the situation. She can see that we're struggling. She made the changes. That makes them love you and respect you even more. It does. It really does. And they look at you and they think, man, she actually cares. I love her. And I think I heard that, I don't know how many times Friday night. I just love you. Oh my God, I just love you. I'm so glad you did that. I just love, okay. It's one of those things you just have to roll with the punches sometimes, and then, like the one that I didn't get a chance to sing with the state choir that I really wanted to sing so bad, I save it for the convocation. We're going to sing this song, but I realize how, I have to turn things and make it work. We have to make it work, y'all. That's our job. We got to make it work. And when we make it work, the choir feel good, the musicians feel good, and you feel good. Another day's journey, and I'm so glad. You all have a wonderful evening. I love you, and peace.